can move on to Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, it's a
Brienne of
good
Tarth.
comparison between the two women, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so Brienne of Tarth, who has 8 chapters within A Feast for Crows. So Brienne's story, in which she regales us with tales of her youth and travelling across Westeros in search of Sansa Stark. And she has one mission, and she tells us, the readers, this mission and about 200 other people that she meets. This mission is, Dear Sir, I am seeking a young maiden of 3 and 10 with auburn hair. She may be travelling with a fool.
What a night.
And also, I suspect that in fact, she meets up with Podrick Payne. And I suspect that part of Podrick's training is every night she teaches him this phrase that he has to tell other people. Whenever they meet someone else, they have to say, okay, that's the story, Pod, go. She meets several travellers, and we get an insight into the common people and how they are suffered by the War of the Five Kings. And from what we can tell, there's a lot of anarchy going on. There's not a lot of authority, and if plenty of rape going on within Westeros, and you just don't have much of a chance if you're not a nobleman or noble lady. Eventually, more people join her posse of her journey of finding Sansa Stark. She meets Sir Hyle Hunt, and they travel eventually to the Quiet Isles.
The Septon who tells the story of the Nine Kings War, or the Penny Kings War.
Yes, of course, that's right.
That's a very cool story.
She eventually travels to an inn where she meets Gendry.
Right. The Cracklaw Point.
Yep.
Oh, okay. You're going to that point. Okay.
She meets seven men, and it's her against those 7. One of which is it's Biter and Rog masquerading as the Hound. So she kills Biter, I think, or no, it's Gendry that kills Biter. And so this Brienne would be another one of those characters within both books where there's a sort of a tease of this character is dead, but then you find out no, they're not.
Yeah,
This
he does it
character's
very frequently.
A Dance with Dragons, where you finally meet her in Jaime's chapter.
Yeah, so I'm getting a little bit tired of that. There's part of me that wishes Jon would just be dead and not walk into anyone.
Yeah, I mean, so what was it when she fights with Biter and the chapter cuts? And so we are like, hey, is she alive or dead? He leaves her as a cliffhanger. And then the next chapter again, oh, she's alive. She wakes up. She gets taken to Lady Stoneheart. And then Stoneheart is about to hang them. And then it cuts again. And then 6 years later, another book. And we find, okay, Brian is alive and she's hanging out with Jaime now. So...
But with some really sketchy tale about how, he has to come and rescue the girl from the Hound.
Yeah, I think Martin
has bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Martin feels like he had to had these cliffhangers because he finds Brian chapters boring, I think, even for him. So okay, let's add a cliffhanger to spice it up.
I think it's more that he probably enjoys those chapters because they're all about world building. And there's all sorts of wonderful, rich detail about minor houses and all the kind of stuff he loves, which is about how civil war is horrible to common folk and how it ravages the lands and all that kind of wonderful stuff. But it's almost like he writes this chapter, which is wonderful and rich in detail. And then he suddenly thinks, oh, shit, nothing happened. Right, better put in like a Dickensian cliffhanger. She said a word. Is she dead? Who knows? And then you move on and it's weak. But... I just think the problem with the Brienne chapters in Feast, that we've become so used to the wonderful relationship between Jaime and Brienne that when Brienne is without Jaime, it's kind of like, oh, it doesn't feel as interesting to read. Like part of what makes her so fascinating is for what she brings out of Jaime.
Do you think that in The Winds of Winter, Brienne will be back as a POV, or will they just combine her and Jaime together?
Well, maybe they'll combine them, and maybe they'll combine I suspect he might trim the POV list as characters start meeting up, rather than having what he currently has, which is in FeastDance. You'll have Cersei describe, Tywin's funeral, then Jaime describe Tywin's funeral, and it's a very inefficient way of doing it.
Yeah. He still probably has to do it because Dany's stuff is going to get so crowded. She's going to have Tyrion, she's going to have Victarion, she's going to have Marwyn the Mage. Who else? Makara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hope Brienne comes back, because Brienne has such an unusual perspective on the world that she just has still, despite all of this, a great purity of outlook. And yet it's not naive. She's experienced some pretty horrible bullying and experiences, and yet she still manages to she chooses to look at the world and see honor and the positive and her own role in it, which I just think is so admirable. So I really like Brienne, but even I must admit that not much happened for her in this book. Unless she really did find the Hound, and he's left his work as a digger of graves to go rampaging and has found the girls. But somehow I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah. I want to see him, but I'm glad that he's found something, found peace at last or something.
Yeah, part of me just wants to see him end up with Sansa, though.
One thing about Brienne, so Sir Hale Hunt and Podrick are about to be hanged, as well as Brienne, who has a rope around her neck, and she utters one final word. So, do you guys know what the word is?
Sword, right? I'm sorry, I shouldn't
Yep,
have said
that's
that.
right. I do. Yep, I heard
Yeah.
that's confirmed as the words. But when you first read the book, what did you think the word would be?
I thought it was stop or something. I think the sentence went right. I think Lady Stoneheart says, "So what will it be, Brian? Sword or the noose or something, right?" And then Brian says a word and it cuts. So we should have easily picked it out as sword, but I thought it was stop or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't take it literally that it had to be one of the two words. I thought she would have either just shouted out Ice or shouted out Sansa, because knowing that one of the children's names would have stopped Lady Stoneheart in her tracks.
I did think it was Arya.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the two girls' names then. So
Wait, does Brian know something about Arya?
Yeah, she heard the story that it wasn't Sansa
Oh,
that the Hound
the
was
Hound
traveling
had.
with. It was
Okay.
Arya.
Arya's
Ah.
out and about. Yeah.
So she's got a timeline that says the Arya was with the Hound after the Red Wedding, after King's Landing. So she knows at least she survived all of that. Okay.
So
But
pre her
yeah.
saying, if she said Arya, at that point, does Lady Stoneheart think that Arya's dead or just missing? Do we know?
Well,
I think she thinks it's dead, right? Arya is dead.
yes, that's right, because she had given up hope of ever finding Arya. She knew that Sansa was alive, but at that point, I think she had given up hope of ever finding Arya. So that was her mission. That's why she said to Brienne to return Sansa. At least
Yeah.
Sansa.
Sorry, shocking lack of knowledge there. Yeah.
At least bring home Sansa if you can.
Yeah.
By that point, she had known that Sansa was married to Tyrion, so she perhaps had given up hope of ever seeing Sansa again either. So that's a
And
bit
I
of
think
leverage for Brienne.
Right. And I think Jamie does tell Brienne that, I mean, they know that there is Arya in the north, but Jamie does tell her that the Arya that they sent to Roose Bolton is a fake. So that's why she's not even bothering going north or something to get Arya. So, yeah, otherwise that would have been even more boring. Her going north. Actually, it would have been interesting if she went north, thinking that Arya was real. And she fights Ramsay and kills him.
But has she ever met Arya? Like, she won't know that Jane is not Arya, right?
Right, but Jamie
That's
told
right.
her,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
yeah. I wish she left the detail out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm just really psyched that Jamie and Brienne are now back together and roaming around. I'm really looking forward
Well,
I'm
to seeing what's happening, and I
unless
hope
their
I think
betrayal
there
of
might be an interesting, you know, in her loyalty to Jamie versus her loyalty to Lady Stoneheart.
right.
We'll see.
I'm not too optimistic about the survival chances. I think they'll be dead the first chapter we get.
Jamie,
I mean
I don't think both.
Jamie at least, yeah.
you think
What do you
Jamie's
guys?
gonna die in the first chapter? of a
Right,
third book?
because in the Red Wedding, when Roose Bolton kills Rob Stark, in the show he says Lannister send their regards, but in the book he says Jamie Lannister sends his regards. So when Catelyn died, she died thinking that Jamie orchestrated part of this at least. So I'm not too. What do you guys think? You guys think Jamie's gonna make it out?
I don't think Podrick has much of a chance.
Oh,
Tripod.
so sad. But like, if Jamie Lannister dies in the first chapter of the next book,
I know he's one of my
Podrick
favorite
across the
characters
room.
too.
I'm not gonna be happy. It's gonna be a very sad time, and I may
Yeah, I
not be able to finish reading the book.
Because I've
yeah.
seen theories about she's going to take Jamie back to Lady Stoneheart and offer to be his champion.
That would be so cool.
Just like Beric.
What,
How?
Beric versus Brienne or something?
Oh, you mean
Possibly, yes.
trial by combat or something?
Yes, that's right.
But Lady Stoneheart doesn't do anything like that. Just like Beric does. She just hangs people. The Frey from the prologue of third book. She just hangs him up. So she's all about vengeance now. Oh, or does Jamie kill Stoneheart?
Can he though? I mean, like, how good is Jamie now at fighting, by the way? Because
Oh,
we know
yeah.
he's training 3 hours a day with Ellen Payne, and I would have only died twice last night because but he's not up to strength, so he ain't gonna be killing anyone. Uh,
Mm.
but in a straightforward fight between Brienne and Beric, who would win if it did go to trial by combat?
I guess it's difficult to make that comparison. The only thing that we know is Beric was beaten by the Hound. So I guess we could sort of compare Brienne and the Hound, as Brienne being, of course, below, like, several levels below the Hounds.
Wait, do you think Brienne is worse than Hound?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
But no, but I don't think she's several levels below because I think the Hound was a long way above most people, and Brienne did win. I mean, she did become a member of the Queen's Guard by defeating a lot of people. And
yeah.
she's physically tough. I mean, I think Brienne's probably not bad.
I think,
Whether
would she fight with honor?
Mm. Oh, wow, no, she definitely fights for honor. I think that's the only thing, she's trying to be the ultimate knight.
So it might
Um,
be a weakness against the Hounds.
Oh my God, if Brienne ends up dying in a fight to save Jamie, and then Jamie gets offed, oh, that's gonna be like the most tragic romantic ending ever.
yeah, I mean,
So
what,
cute. I
I
almost
mean,
want it to happen now. Like having gone from I don't want Jamie to die. That would be just so beautiful. Oh.
Martin says this all the time. He kills characters when he doesn't know what to do with them. So, what plans does he have with Jamie? So I can't really see what
Jamie
can
might
he do with Jamie.
Jamie needs to come back and have closure with Cersei. But
Yeah.
Brienne, you're right. I think Brienne's role was to illuminate the kind of the fight between Catelyn and Jaime in particular. And I think as soon as they're reunited with Stoneheart, really her role does end. She's redeemed Jaime. She's turned around his life. And you're right. I mean, maybe it is an early exit.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's an early exit, that's another mixed thing, you know. If they're gonna die, then why didn't he just do it in this book? Why is he making us wait like another 6 years or something before he kills them off?
It won't be 6 years.
Let's hope not.